an electronic notice provided to the Courier News and Breeze posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building and filing with the township clerk. A subsequent notice with revised live streaming information was provided on August 15th, 2023. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilman Cordilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Pedroso?
Here.
Councilman Ring?
Here.
President Kirsch?
Yes, here.
We can all that are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Minutes for approval, August 3rd, regular session. Have a
I'll
motion?
second.
We have a second? Roll call.
Oh, yeah. Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
And there is also copies of a closed session minutes being routed for approval. We'll start with the Township Council reports, and I'll let Councilman Kirsch go first. He can explain why I'm sitting here, and he's sitting over there this evening.
A brief and simple explanation for our change in the batting order. I have a personal matter I may need to attend to at home, and just so that we don't have a disruption in the meeting, felt it was prudent to have Council Vice President Ring step in from the beginning. As far as brief reports, I attended the New Jersey Plan, that stands for Planned Lifetime Assistance Network event 2 weeks ago at the Somerset Ballpark. It's a wonderful organization that provides support and resources for those across the Central Jersey community who may need additional assistance planning for the care of individuals who need it. The unofficial end of summer occurred Labor Day, and with it brings the start of school, whether that's the Bridgewater Raritan Regional School District, lower age levels than that, higher age levels than that. It is the start of school now or soon, so best wishes to all students and their families. I wanted to acknowledge that our municipal building is now flying a flag with our renewed emblem. The old one was the old one was well worn, and with it, the flag has been replaced out front with our new emblem. And finally, we typically talk retrospectively about where events that we go to and priorities that we have. I want to proactively mention the 9/11 ceremony that's going to be happening this year on Monday morning. I consider it, I know many of us consider it to be one of the most solemn responsibilities that we have, not just as leaders in this community, but as citizens, to remember the events of that fateful day, certainly focus attention on the victims in particular. So that event is on Monday morning. We'll be starting at 8:30. Thank you. Those are my reports.
Continuing to my left, Councilman Pedroso.
Thank you, sir. See, I guess I had the wrong impression because I thought Council President Kirsch just wanted to sit next to me, but I guess that's not it.
It's a bonus.
Anyway, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see everybody here. A couple things I want to say. I attended, I think that are worth mentioning. I attended the Martinsville fire 100th anniversary. 100 years, wow, of service to our township. I just want to express my gratitude, and I'm sure I'm echoing all our residents in Bridgewater, just tremendous gratefulness for all the men and women that volunteer their time and serve our community. That the function that they do is priceless. It's a wonderful service to our town. Not only do we save taxpayer money, but it's just a great way of getting people involved in our community and providing that service. And I know many of us here either have served or currently do serve on volunteer fire or rescue services. So just want to express that to all the men and women who serve our town in those capacities. I have a 12th grader and a 1st grader that both started school in Bridgewater yesterday. So just want to give a little shout out to all the students in Bridgewater Township. I wish them a great school year. I'm going to echo, I guess, what I said already at the last meeting, but just wish the students, the faculty, the staff, everyone involved in the school system a great school year. See Jennifer here in our room, our Board of Education member. Hi, Jennifer. How many students, do you know, how many students are enrolled this year in school? 8,000? Yeah, great. Well, anyway, to the 8,000 students, have a great school year. To the staff and faculty, thank you for doing that and educating our kids. Are we still doing family? There's a family, Bridgewater Family Fun Day. Is that still on? I know the weather's a little iffy.
As of now, it's still scheduled for Sunday, yes.
It is. So just, I think everyone should just be aware that there is a Bridgewater Family Fun Day scheduled for Sunday. Hopefully the rain will stay away between 11 and 3 p.m. That's all I have.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ring, just one other item. I was also at the Martinsville Fire 100th anniversary. Wanted to acknowledge, you may speak of it during your comments, the bench dedication that occurred honoring the Kerner family and their particular contributions to Bridgewater and to Martinsville. I presume you'll cover that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Norgales?
Thank you, Mr. President. Over the years, the council has heard numerous resident complaints about dilapidated homes in need of dramatic repair or unkept grounds overgrown and dirty in the neighborhood. My most recent example is 1060 Elm Road in the Sunset Lake area. Zoning officer Roger Dornbire has the unenviable job of following up on these issues, and 1060 Elm is a textbook example of the complexity of such cases. It appears that the former owner had died and left no relatives or friends to assume responsibility for the property. The issue facing Bridgewater is what are our options on the approximately dozen homes that we are aware of. I will continue to talk with Mr. Pappas as we collectively attempt to determine an appropriate solution. A lot more in the future as that moves on. The New Jersey State Department of Treasury Unclaimed Property Administration has published an 18-page document, very, very small print, displaying names and addresses and property ID numbers for many thousands of unclaimed property being held by the state. There are lots of Bridgewater and Martinsville addresses listed. The telephone number for unclaimed property is 609-292-9200. I will leave a copy of this report for the clerk so it is available in the clerk's office should anyone want to either call in or ask if their name or a family name. By the way, I found a family, one of my own family names was listed here. I did do a brief deep dive in one case. I picked a common name, Brown, with a T.
Howard, a little closer, I'm being told. You're on.
Okay. I picked the common name Brown. I found one family that had 24 listings there. When I tracked them down, they had already moved out of Bridgewater, so I don't know what will happen on that. But it's an important thing. If your name or a family member is on that list, that means there's money or something available to you. Maybe $1, it may be $1 million. Well, probably not $1 million, but anyway, it's available to you. Moving on. There's a town-owned parking lot at the corner of Milltown Road and 22. It was originally built under a prior administration as a parking lot for bus transport into New York City. The bus idea was abandoned years ago because of insufficient ridership. The lot has been used as an overnight parking facility for vehicles, including a road trucker, and in one case, a pop-up flea market. Very recently, a fairly new tractor, that's the front end of a tractor trailer, abandoned for weeks with an expired registration, was towed by the police when the owner could not be reached. In the absence of any township-sponsored activity at that location, I have recommended to Mr. Pappas that in order to reduce township liability, we prevent access to that lot except for township-sponsored activities. I want to thank Chairman Mohad Ram Mehdi of the Hindu Temple and Cultural Society and the temple officer Sheikha Vamparella for the personally guided tour for me, Councilman Cardilla, and Ring as part of their every 12-year rededication. It was a very enlightening experience. Councilman Cordilla, Ring, Pedrosa, and I visited Solaris Corporation at 95 Corporate Drive on the eve of their public announcement regarding the groundbreaking human cell cancer research. I asked them for a formal statement, and here is what they said. Solaris raised $255 million to launch the first integrated development and manufacturing organization and pioneering smart factory to meet global demand for life-saving cell therapies. I'm really not sure what all that means, but I think it's good for cancer treatment. Lastly, attended the National Senior Citizen Recognition Day ceremony at our senior center. This was originally signed into law by President Reagan. This annual township affair had over 200 guests. Well done, Jennifer and Judy, who run the center. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, and Councilman Nogales. Councilman Cordilla.
I'd like to just follow up on Councilman Nogales' comments in attending the celebration at the Hindu Temple and also the groundbreaking at the Solaris facility. I also attended the Martinsville Fire 100th anniversary, and certainly congratulations and a lot of gratitude has to go to that organization for the service that they have provided to Bridgewater for the last 100 years.
Thank you. I try not to repeat too much here. I also participated in the 100th anniversary celebration of the Martinsville Fire Department. As Council President Kirsch mentioned, there was a bench dedication. This was a joint effort between the fire department and the township. And on one of the fields at Crim Park, a bench was dedicated to recognize the service of Jeffrey Kerner and his father, Ted Kerner, for their contributions to the township. Jeff was a very long-time fireman with the Martinsville Fire Department who passed away earlier this year. He also served with the rescue squad and was a long-time township DPW employee. His father, Ted, when I joined the rescue squad in Martinsville 35-ish years ago, was a very key member of that organization and kept the rescue squad running for a number of years. If something needed to be fixed, Ted found a way to do it. So it's a nice tribute, and one of the interesting pieces about it is the bench is located in Crim Park, and the Kerner family, literally their property on Crim Road backs up to the park. So it's where Ted lived and raised his children. So it's a very nice tribute there. Also participated, as Councilman Nogales mentioned, in the Temple 12th anniversary celebration. Continue to hold master plan review committee meetings in looking at our master plan. Planning board meeting earlier this week, we had an interesting case where the temporary cell tower on Milltown Road was due to come down in July. When they went to start the demolition, there was a problem with the new cell tower where Osspring had built a nest. And they are protected birds, which forbid work from happening within 500 feet of that location. So there was a lot of work back and forth done with the state. The birds, I understand from the testimony provided the other night, the birds have since left the nest. So there's an extension given for that cell tower to remain through January. It is felt that in the next 3.5 months, they should be able to get that down with a little bit of cushion in there. And it needs to happen because there's a high probability that the birds can return to that new cell tower in the spring and build another nest. So if the tower's not down in the spring, we could have an issue. So the nest is on the new tower, but the issue is getting the temporary tower down because it's within 500 feet of the new tower. So hopefully that makes sense and will be resolved fairly quickly.
So that they were smart enough to build on the new tower, not the temporary tower?
So actually, they apparently started building on the temporary tower, and there was an expert who provided testimony that they actually liked the highest point. So apparently when the new tower was put up, they moved their nest to the new tower because it was higher than the temporary. So they actually were occupied both at one point in time.
And they're not land use experts?
They're not. And the other interesting thing I asked because I questioned what happens with the nest when it comes down, because one of my thoughts was this would be a great educational piece for children in the community to learn about. And it's protected waste by the state and has to be either destroyed or bagged and turned into the state. They do not allow anyone to possess the nests. A little disappointed with that, but as Council President Kirsch mentioned, the township's 9/11 ceremony is scheduled for this Monday at 8:30. There was originally a flag placement event scheduled for this Saturday morning, where we would place one American flag in the ground to represent each person that lost their life on 9/11. Due to the weather forecast, that has been canceled. So Saturday's flag placement will not happen. The 9/11 ceremony on Monday at 8:30 will happen, rain or shine. If the weather cooperates, it will be outside. If the weather does not cooperate, it will be inside. I personally spent 2 days in Jersey City on 9/11 and 9/12. Certainly days I will remember. Unfortunately, due to a work conflict, I will not be in attendance on Monday morning, but I will certainly pay my respects. And then, as Councilman Pedroso mentioned, the Township and the JCC Joint Family Fun Day is currently scheduled for 11 to 3 on Sunday at the mall. So that is what I have. Thank you. With that, next up is a proclamation for National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and I've asked Councilman Norgalis if he'd like to present that. Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed up. Okay, we'll do it. We'll let Howard go on. Thank you.
Sergeant Edwards, would you come up, please? I'm honored to be able to read this proclamation. I know firsthand the scourge of cancer. It's a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, Bridgewater, New Jersey. Whereas ovarian cancer is the leading cause of genital cancer death in the United States, and where ovarian cancer is known as the subtle disease because the symptoms are often difficult to detect and can mimic those of other diseases and disorders. Whereas there is no early detection test for ovarian cancer, and recognition of the warning signs are essential to the early detection and effective treatment of the disease. And whereas the symptoms of ovarian cancer include abdominal and pelvic pain, difficult eating, frequent urination, and whereas because early symptoms of ovarian cancer are commonly overlooked, increased public awareness and knowledge of the disease, its risk factors, and its subtle symptoms saves women's lives and are essential in getting a diligent diagnosis and advantageous treatment for the disease. And whereas September has been designated National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas the Bridgewater Township Teal Campaign is dedicated foremost to the proactive awareness of ovarian cancer and its symptoms, and whereas Together Teal campaign was built on the vision of Renee Redwoods, who launched it in the Township of Bridgewater in 2014 during her battle with ovarian cancer, and whereas teal ribbons will be prominently displayed on the Township Municipal Complex in an effort to raise awareness about ovarian cancer and its early symptoms, whereas Bridgewater Township strongly encourages all residents to learn about the ovarian cancer and to spread knowledge of and resources to combat it in the families, friends, and neighbors. Therefore, I, Matthew C. Mensch, Mayor of Bridgewater, do hereby proclaim the month of September as National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and urge all citizens of the township to recognize the critical impact of the Township Teal campaign and to offer support to those whose lives have been touched and impacted by ovarian cancer, and particularly fitting in this commemorative event. and it's signed by the mayor and council. And I will today present it to Jamie Edwards, whose wife is Renee. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Thank you. So right after I was asked if I could chair the meeting tonight, I made a comment that I was sure I was going to mess something up, and I did, and I apologize. So I'm going to go back. Administrator Pappas, anything on behalf of the mayor?
Yep, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. A couple of things. One is the audiovisual system is now completely and fully installed. We expect no issues from this point forward. Thank you for your patience. I would like to ask on behalf of the administration that Resolution 12E get pulled until the next meeting. Just a further review that is needed from Mr. Corsini's office. Just for Councilman Norgalis's awareness that we're very much aware and concerned about the Milltown Road property, as well as the various property concerns that you've mentioned. In fact, earlier today, Wells, our deputy administrator, led a meeting of a number of staff people reviewing a number of properties all around town that complaints have been received, and varying stages of review and inspections are taking place. We expect that at some point we will be to the council with some action that the council may consider. Last item is Chief Mitzak is here, and I'm wondering if he might come forward and just briefly highlight a program that is continuing this next week.
Yeah, if you feel free. Yeah, if you don't mind.
That's why I asked him to come forward, because someone needed to turn the podium around. Just kidding.
All right, good evening. Early this year, we started our SHIELD program, and we had our inaugural Citizen Police Academy. That was a tremendous success. So next week, September 13th, Thursday, we are again going to run a Citizen Police Academy. We currently have, I believe, 15 applicants. Applications are still being accepted. It is a 10 to 12-week program with graduation in early or late November, early December. And I just wanted to let you know that it's going to be another success. It was awesome, and I look forward to, interacting with the new residents that are going to attend this academy. Good? Any questions?
I'm sure I know the answer, but just for the public that may be interested, is there a cost to participate?
No. We even supply coffee, pizza. We do it all.
How many hours?
It starts at 6 p.m. Usually, we like to have it go till 8 o'clock, but usually the questions start flowing and the conversation gets good. So 3.5 hours usually.
Is it on set nights?
Yes, it's set for Thursday nights with 2 Saturdays for additional training.
And how does the public get more info? Or if they want to
It's
sign
on
up?
the police website and also the township website.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Pappas? No? All right, thank you. Next up is presentations. I'd like to invite Eric Murdoch up to give a presentation on the Hobbstown Basketball Court Initiative. And Eric, if you don't mind, adjust the mic so it's relatively close. Besides speaking in this room, it's
Yeah, no problem.
broadcasting out.
Wow, I haven't been this nervous since my rookie year playing against Michael Jordan. Well, thank you guys for having me. It's a blessing to be here. Obviously, I did play in the NBA. I am a Bridgewater native, but I want to go way back to when my life started in Bridgewater. So, at 6 months old, my mother's walking on North Bridge Street, going up to I think It was a restaurant bar, Cosmos at the time. No sidewalks. And at that time, there was no drinking and driving laws. So a drunk driver hits my mother, throws her into a ditch, face down, 2 inches of water, and she drowned. This was when I was 6 months old. And, you know, and ever since then, I think God has had his hand over my life, which allowed me to be as successful as I am. He guided me out of trouble, different situations when I was young and dumb, making mistakes. But the first thing that he did, he blessed me with my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. She had 9 kids of her own. And here I come, another mouth to feed, very poor. But she, you know, raised me as if I was her own. And I told her I was coming to speak to the council today. And she said, well, I told you back in the day you should have ran for mayor. And I said, Grandma, I know nothing about politics. And she said, the politicians don't know either. so I didn't.
Very smart one.
So, you know, she was the most inspirational person in my life at that time. Coach Stapleton and Mrs. Stapleton, as I got older, were, and I think Mrs. Stapleton is watching right now, she said, so I want to say hi to her. But, you know, they came into my life at a perfect time. And I just got some notes down here, and I'm kind of, but I just want to get into what the Hobbstown Park meant to me. I walked down there about a month ago, and it's, no one's there. It's dissipated, it's ruined, it's unsafe, there's cracks in the court. You know, nobody's in the park. I was doing an interview with Paul Franklin of the Courier News, and we had to move because the garbage smelled so bad. There was flies all over the place, and it was just a really, really bad look. And I told Mr. Franklin that I had to do something about this park. And I do have a 501c3, and you know, my first initiative is to, you know, rehabilitate this basketball court. This court meant so much to me. We were down there every day, you know, following our uncles. And ironically, the park is named after our great uncles, Uncle Dave and Uncle Phil. And right now, the park does not represent those two guys who were pillars in the community. And they would be ashamed of how this park looks. It taught us competitiveness, it taught us integrity, respect, how to be a team player. And I would not have made it to the NBA if it wasn't for that park. That park basically raised me. I was there until the lights came on, you know, every day. And that's where I honed in on my skills and, you know, was very, very competitive. So I just mentioned to you, I do have a nonprofit. Our first agenda is a 3v3 tournament right here at Bridgewater High School, September 16th. We hope to raise, you know, some money. I've talked to Wells Winiger. I've talked to the mayor about how we can collaborate. We're raising money on our end, and we're going to present it to Bridgewater, and hopefully they can meet us halfway. That's my number one goal. When you get older, you start thinking about your legacy. I've lived a dream, and right now it's time for me to give back. And we were at the Martin Luther King Youth Center. I just had a end of the summer school supply give back at my house, and Bridgewater was gracious enough to barricade my street and to block it off. And we had 60 backpacks that we just handed out 2 hours ago to the kids at the Martin Luther King Youth Center. And so if you could just saw the smiles on their faces and the joy, it was unbelievable. So that's where I'm at in my life. You know, meeting new people. We already have an engineering company who will donate their services to engineer, the whole project, which will cost, tons of money. So we are moving in that direction. If Bridgewater can help us in any way, we'd be very appreciative. This park meant so much to me and all of my friends that grew up. It's kept us out of trouble, kept us disciplined, kept us, athletic, in shape. And so we just want to really, really bring this park back to life. Right now it's not dead, but it needs resuscitation right now. And hopefully you guys could be there for me. We're going to do our part, and hopefully, Bridgewater will be there for us as well. Any questions?
Mr. President, on the agenda tonight for the council's consideration, Resolution 12A, which is a resolution requesting permission to establish, what did I say? Did I say 12A? I meant to say 12B, thank you.
I'm not gonna-
I
I'm
made
not
it,
one-
now I made a mistake. Establishing a dedicated trust by rider. We have done this on a couple of other occasions for worthy causes such as this, and this would enable the township to collect donations on behalf of this project for this purpose.
Thank you.
And if I may, the resolution indicates that the sole funding, volunteer funding, will come through your foundation. You are to be commended for your generosity. Didn't you build a house for your grandmother?
Yes.
Right there on the corner in Northbridge?
That's actually the first thing I did when I got drafted.
I remember that. That was real appreciation for the part that she has played in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Just a brief comment to say thank you for giving back to the community. I followed your career in college, actually. While you were at Providence College, I was at Brown.
Did you win some money?
No, but I followed your career because, again, the difference in quality of play between our two colleges was
yes.
pretty vast. But certainly, I followed your career then and into the NBA, and admire your dedication to this community and giving back, and the ability for us to partner together for good moving ahead.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. As the administrator mentioned, we have 12B on the agenda, which establishes a rider, which is a legal process that any money that you would raise and give to the town, it earmarks it specifically for that. Without the rider, any money you give to the town has to go into the general treasury. It's just a state bookkeeping thing. So we do have 12B on the agenda. I'd actually like to, while Mr. Murdoch's here, make a motion to amend the agenda and make a motion for 12B.
I will second that motion.
Okay?
Councilman Codilla?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes, with thanks.
Councilman Pedrosa?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You don't need to thank us. Thank you. All right. With that, next up is a update on open space acquisition by our Director of Municipal Services, Mr. Genova.
If I could just say, I know that everyone is disappointed that he's not going to be talking about sewers. He wore his different jacket tonight for a different topic. So Mr. Genova really has done an amazing job on our sewer utility, and there's another a topic of interest that he wanted to share with the council.
Thank you, Mike. So good evening, Councilman. And yes, I'm here to give a report on something a little different for me, but nonetheless, it's a very important topic in Bridgewater Township. So I have for the public out here, I have a PowerPoint you're gonna be able to view. And again, if anybody up at the council, you want me to slow down, you want me to maybe zoom in on something, please interrupt and I will do so. So without further ado, I'll get into it. The second slide. That's a picture of the Wemple Lang House on Foothill Road. That was the start of these two acquisitions. On August 6, 2018, the council adopted Ordinance 18-14, authorizing the acquisition of land identified as a portion of Lot 4 in Block 712. After a minor subdivision, it is now known as Lot 4.02. There we go. Okay, the next slide, you'll see, is a survey of the same. So the said property consisted of approximately 30.48 acres, commonly known as 440 Foothill Road, which was purchased by the township from Bridgewater Estates LLC for the purchase price of $1,925,000. The seller donated Lot 63 in Block 718 to the township at this time. I'm going to try to zoom in on that so you can see where that parcel is. That's right here at the top on the northern side of Twin Oaks up there. Okay. So this transaction closed on January 18th, 2019. There was a credit to Bridgewater Township for rollback taxes for a net purchase price of $1,825,000. Funding for this acquisition is outlined as follows. $250,000 was paid by the County of Somerset. $250,000 was paid by Crossroads of the American Revolution Association. $175,000 was paid by DNR Greenway Land Trust, and $1,150,000 was paid through the Township Open Space Trust Fund. The DNR funding, as a condition of the grant, required that the property be available to the public by construction of a stone parking lot and trails, as agreed to upon, the township and DNR agreeing to such in the future. So that wasn't stipulated at the time. Here we are today. Slide 4. That's a picture of the Stempian House. On March 16th, 2023, the council adopted ordinance number 2305, authorizing the acquisition of land identified as Lot 5, Block 712. It's adjoining the previous property. Here's a survey of the same. The property consisting of approximately 5.01 acres, commonly known as 525 Steel Gap Road, was purchased from Mary Jean Stempian and Catherine Ann Harknett for the purchase price of $565,000. The transaction closed on June 15th, 2023. DNR is proposing to pay $50,000 towards the purchase of 525 Steel Gap Road, which is the Stempian property. Slide 6. On the Stempian property, you will see there's an existing driveway which will allow for access within this driveway to the entire 2 parcels. Slide 7. This shows a grass path that leads to the spring located on Block 712, Lot 4.01. Slide 8. You'll see some markups on the survey. This shows parking spaces and additional trails that will be constructed. Signage will be installed. All will be maintained by Bridgewater Township. These items will satisfy the conditions of ordinance number 1814, and this is all outlined in the proposed resolution authorizing execution of a participation agreement between the township and DNR. You'll see a sign that I'm sure you're aware of that's on Foothill Road that identifies the tract. And at this time, if there's any questions.
Can you go back one slide?
Sure.
Sorry.
Okay.
I noticed in the text that it says where a sign will be developed by DNR, and the cost of that sign will be deducted from the donation.
That's correct.
Any idea how much that sign's going to cost?
Well, this sign, the identifier site sign, is not going to be as large as what you see on Foothill Road. So I don't think it's going to exceed large numbers. I mean, if I were to guess, it's going to be under $1,000. Yes, absolutely. There's also, oh, no, no, no. So that's a very good question. And then there's another type of identification sign that's going to be inside the property on where various things are and what they are. Again, they're going to, pay for that, but that's even going to be less than the site sign.
I just wanted to, on this slide, I think I see the mark down there, the spring.
Yes.
And I think it's important just for the public, if they're not aware, during the original acquisition of the original parcel back in 2018, 2019, which, by the way, that property was scheduled to have, it was approved for 18 homes to be built on it. And the town acquired it for open public space and stopped the development of it. But during that process, there was some historical significance going back to George Washington's time frame, and what was called Steele's Tavern. The history lores claim that next to Steele's Tavern, there was a spring. And when you walk back that grass path, you actually do see the spring, and not a far distance from that, there's remnants of a stone foundation. So this piece of property, besides open space preservation, has some historical significance to it, which is why on the next slide where you see the name, it ties into a Revolutionary Preserve on the Washington-Monmouth National Historic Trail. So it's not just in some open space, there's some historical elements to this. So, anyone else?
And there is a resolution on your agenda, letter 12D, that would authorize that agreement between the township and DNR Greenway. And Mr. Genova summarized that here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next will be meeting open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. When you come to the podium, please clearly state your name and your address for the record. If you prefer not to publicly state your address, there is a sign-in sheet there where you may write your address. Can I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? All right, meeting is open to, come on up, meeting's open to the public.
Good evening. My name is Joe Casal. I live at 44 Prospect Avenue, right around the corner. The reason I'm addressing you this evening is that my wife and I, who may join me, have been following the council's actions since July regarding short-term rentals. We expected a revised ordinance, I think it was 152, to be presented and discussed at this meeting, but we don't see it on the agenda. So I don't know if you have an answer for that, or if maybe we missed something.
You did not miss anything, so there's continues to be a lot of work in this regard. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think it's I think we'd all agree as we work through an issue, I feel like we get 3 more issues that come at us. There's also a piece that has come up in the last couple days regarding some state statutes that would actually restrict what we can do in certain situations for senior citizens in the state of New Jersey. So we are actively working on it, and I think our goal is for our next meeting to have a new ordinance, draft ordinance to introduce. Is that anyone disagree?
Yeah, I don't disagree at all with what you've said. What seemed on its surface to be very simple, as we've dug into it, has become more complex. When we pass ordinances, we want to make sure that we get them right. Certainly speed is also important, but accuracy and being correct is even more important. As an example, I've been doing some research into other communities that have a short-term rental ordinance. As example, Point Pleasant Beach, their document is 14 pages long. I'm not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that ours should be 14 pages, but certainly we want to learn from other communities and the approaches they take, and then make sure that the solution that we have works well for Bridgewater. That's the reason why we do not have it on the agenda tonight, but it is our expectation that we will get our, do the incremental work necessary and be able to have an introduction 2 weeks from tonight.
Thank you. One other comment, and again, why we were here. We were here for actually the proclamation for Dr. Fazoli, if you remember that. And we heard about the fact that there was a business operating in a single-family residential neighborhood. And I believe the township has done something to address that, but we haven't heard or we don't know about it. Can anyone mention or say something about that?
We have had, I did report, I think it was maybe the last meeting, that we have had our zoning officer and construction official visit the site, and they've been in communication with the property owner. The exact details of that I don't necessarily think are public, but there is a very active engagement with the property owner. From everything that we've been told, the alleged activity has stopped there, and we've heard that directly from property owners nearby.
So that explains why we're here, and no one that we knew from Gateshead
Probably.
is actually here.
I'm assuming that, yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I had. Thank you.
I think your partner in crime might want to.
Sure.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Can you just please state your name?
Marilee Casal.
You can pull.
Marilee Casal. I live at 44 Prospect Avenue with him. Long time. Anyway, we did learn about the whole short-term rental concerns with the Gateshead folks that were here. Took a personal interest in it. We spend part of our time in Florida, and we deal with a lot of Airbnbs in our community there. But to your point, Michael, I did research around the community, especially after Mr. Lee was at the last meeting and talked about his Airbnb rental here in Bridgewater. I looked at Bedminster, and Bedminster has a specific ordinance that prohibits any short-term rentals less than 30 days. So he lives in Bedminster, but he buys property and rents it in Bridgewater. So I saw places at the shore who either have them in place or they're pursuing them. So we just want to make sure that we voice our support for the council, what you're trying to do. And we feel it's important because we all want to live in a community that we consider residential and not hotels or with constant turnover on our streets. So I applaud you for pursuing it. We just want to make sure it didn't get dropped.
Oh,
It did not get dropped.
Thank you. Put my name here.
Any other members of the public wish to speak? Good evening.
Good evening. Jen Lochran, 716 Falcon Court. I had 2 things on my list, and now I have 5. I wanted to first support and praise the efforts of the Murdochs for improving Dave and Philip Miller Park, not just as a Parks Committee chair, but also I grew up with a family that grew up in Hobbstown, and you really can't go anywhere in this town without running into somebody who grew up in that area of town. So it's really great to see that happen. The second thing I had to talk about, which I think I left, oh no, I have my notes here, sweet, was the Playground for Everybody project. We're working on a much bigger project, but to summarize what this fundraising project is to raise money to replace baby swings with inclusive swings. They're not called inclusive, they're called, well, it doesn't matter. It's the swings that have like the straps and you can lean back. And what's great about these swings is that they're not just for kids that have special needs or disabilities. And they can also accommodate children from 2 to 11 years old. And most baby swings can only accommodate children from like 9 months to 2.5 before they're not useful. So our goal is to, as part of a bigger project, replace one of the swings in Chimney Rock Park. But as we are starting to update some other parks like Kidd Street, we would like to see that happen as well. And rather than, try to add that to the budget or to try to, use funds that were granted to us, we would like to fundraise as a community to make that happen. So that's that project. Then the third thing was I'll just talk about it briefly, but I've been accused of having a skateboarding agenda for a while, so I figured I'd bring it up again. And as we've been talking about Camp Cromwell, I wanted to introduce the concept of a pump track, which is not exclusively for skateboarders, but also really, really popular with mountain bikers and BMX and scooters and roller skaters, and also fitness enthusiasts as well as parkour enthusiasts. So I left that document for you there, and I hope you consider it for the master plan. And I just wanted to check my notes real quick. Oh, and skate school is starting, and we have a date for Skate for the Paws, which is November 11th. It's a fundraiser for the animal shelter. It's a skate event and a concert. And the last thing I wanted to say was that in support of the Community Police Academy was a wonderful program. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope more people in the community get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that we could promote a specific resolution making that legitimate in the state. It's simply not possible legally for you to get something and then install it in the township. It's a great idea, but there has to be very specific legal requirements satisfied. So may I suggest that you talk to Administrator Pappas at your convenience so that we can get it all squared away. And it's a great project, and I totally support it, but we need to make sure that all the T's and I's are crossed.
I understand. This is actually part of a bigger project that I believe Mr. Pappas is aware of that I don't really want to throw out to the public without getting approval from everybody. So it has gone through OCR and DPW, and it's already kind of been approved. It's just an addition to that project, enhancing that project.
Okay. Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak? A motion?
I'll second.
Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We have no public hearings or final action tonight, so we will move on to item number 12, resolutions. 12A is a resolution amending Resolution 23-08-03-237, appointing William Pandos as Chief Financial Officer for the Township of Bridgewater from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. I know, Mr. Pappas, we've got some legal references attached to this, but rather than reading those, perhaps you'd like to, or Mr. Corsini, one of you would like to summarize what we're doing here.
The resolution that had been adopted was incorrect. The term would expire December 31st, 2026, not 2027, which is what the previous resolution had included. That was an error. Not on the council's part, on our part in presenting it.
Okay.
I'll move 12A.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call?
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
All right, 12B, we've already taken care of. 12C, resolution authorizing consent to an assignment, assumption, and admission agreements between Bridgewater Commons Mall LLC, Bridgewater Commons Mall 2 LLC, and Bridgewater Pacific LLC. Mr. Pappas?
The arrangement, maybe Mr. Corsini should correct me if I'm wrong, but the redevelopment agreement requires, and I guess there's statutory language that provides authority for the municipality to have to consent to the change of title. Correct, Chris?
That is correct.
And that's what this resolution accomplishes.
That is accurate.
Just so the public is aware, when the mall was built back in the 80s, it was part of a redevelopment agreement, or a redevelopment process. In the mall, it was approved through ordinance. That ordinance defines, basically gives the power for the mall to operate on that property. It's kind of a standoff separate piece from our township zoning. And it's important because I know there's been some questions, given the history of the recent purchaser of the mall, of what their intent is with the mall compared to some of the things they've done at other malls that they've acquired, particularly in the area of adding apartments. This resolution transfers the existing agreements as is. It does not change anything, and therefore it's important to note that the township ordinance specifies what can take place at the mall. Or more importantly, it does not specify that our apartments or any residential components can be built at the mall. And if that is something that the purchaser is looking to do in the future, they would have to come before the governing body, and there would have to be a revision to the township ordinance with a public hearing, multiple meetings on it. Not a simple, it's not going before a land use board and getting a variance. It's a little different than that process. So, please understand that this transfer is transferring the existing agreements and transferring the existing authorizations, and more importantly, does not allow any residential development at the mall as it is today. Did I say that correctly? You did. Okay.
I'd like to simply cite two things. The whereases in the document, one of them says, the New Jersey redevelopment law, 40A, requires the township's consent to the transfer of ownership of the mall. And at the very bottom under B, now therefore be it resolved, the township's consent to the assignment, assumption, and admission agreement is subject to the uses provided in the redevelopment agreement, township ordinance, and redevelopment, which excludes residential uses. There are no plans whatsoever to permit residential activity of any sort at the mall. Thank you.
And I believe the administration has made that adamantly clear to the purchasers of the mall. So,
I'll move 12C.
Just a quick comment first. Again, it's my belief, but I think it would likely be the consensus on this dais that the future of that mall can continue to be very successful with some combination of retail, some forms of entertainment, and dining. That has been its history. We've seen certain adjustments, in the last handful of years, some additional high-profile restaurants, and I think it's our hope and belief that that can be both desirable in the community and financially viable for this new owner.
thank you. I heard a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Codilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
I'm going to vote no. I'm going to explain why. A few months back, I reported to this governing body that I became aware that several teenagers had undergone some type of sexual harassment while employed by a retailer at the mall. I had some communications with some mall staff. Didn't really get much cooperation in trying to work this out. I've asked the owner of the mall to instill what I view some very minor policies regarding some type of education to the employers there that could simply be online at a minimal cost and expense. However, I think it would have a positive impact on the employees there, and especially many of our Bridgewater resident children, teenagers and so forth, work at the mall. They gain their employment there. I think it would adequately safeguard and protect them in that workplace. I'm not asking for major impositions on the businesses there. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the business's right to manage and have, without undue restrictions of government. But what I'm proposing are very minor things that would, on balance, have a positive impact on certainly the Bridgewater residents that work there and others. And then until the mall takes certain actions to do that, I won't support this.
President Kirsch.
Yes.
Oh, Councilman Ring?
Yes. All right. The next item is a resolution authorizing execution of a partnership agreement between DNR Greenway Land Trust, Greenway, and the Township of Bridgewater, the Township. This is the item we had a presentation on earlier this evening. This agreement will give us $50,000, give or take some signage expenses and credits. Anything further to add?
I'd make a motion to support it.
I'll second the motion.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
All right. The administration has requested to pull 12E, 12F, award of contract for the 2023-2024 snow removal services to K&J Tree Service, LLC, 16 Stony Brook Road, Branchburg, New Jersey, in the amount of $75,000 to be funded through the 2023 Snow Removal Fund. Before we get too far, should that be for $75,000 or not to exceed $75,000?
That would be fine,
Which?
not to exceed.
So, do we need to? Okay, so, all right. Mr. Pappas, do you want to?
This is for whenever the snowfall becomes such that the Township Public Works needs assistance. We have this firm that has come to assist us plowing certain parts of town.
And this was
Several years we've had this. And
competitive bid?
yes, sir.
Did anybody else bid this year?
This was the only company that,
Yeah.
the only bid.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to amend it, 12F, for amount not to exceed $75,000.
I'll second.
Councilman Cordilla?
No, before I vote, I understand that not to exceed amount, but based on the amount of snowfall, the $75,000 could either be a blessing for us, or with excessive snowfall, it's not a fair number to the vendor. We think in past years, we've paid we provided additional funding when there was excessive snowfall. Am I correct, Tom?
That would have to come back to the council.
That's what I'm saying, the term not to exceed.
We can always,
I agree with this, but the initial contract for $75,000, I absolutely support, but I don't think we should have verbiage in there not to exceed 75.
But if we didn't have any snow at all, there wouldn't be any, there would still be a bill.
shouldn't get paid $75,000.
Yeah.
No, I get it, I do.
And I think either one, I think we would only engage them if there was the need for their services, and if there was additional funding needed, that we would likely have to come back to the council for an amended.
We'd have to move money around, we'd have to do budget transfers and all that anyway as
Right,
well.
correct.
Okay.
The council would have to act.
Yes.
Would it be true, however, if we didn't need their services, we don't have to pay them a standby fee?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Lost last year, we won.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
May it be so.
Okay.
again.
Equipment, they had to have it ready.
Do we have a motion?
With that, we have a motion and a second, and I believe I was voting at the time.
Sorry.
With that discussion and understanding, I would vote to support it.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes.
All right. 12F, award of contract to Top Line Construction Corporation, 22 Fifth Street, Somerville, New Jersey, 08876, for the Foxcroft Road, Spring Valley Drive roadway improvement project, which includes the entire lengths of Foxcroft Road and Spring Valley Drive in the sum of $651,677.93, funded through the 2023 Capital Fund and NJDOT Municipal Aid Grant. The township's cost is offset by an NJDOT Municipal Aid Grant, fiscal year 2023, in the amount of $564,770.
I think that says it all. I don't know, Mr. Genova is here, and he did write a memo. He may have a comment.
All I can say is that's a great contractor, and we look forward to trying to complete another job this year. We're batting very well this year.
I echo what Mr. Genova says. Top Line is a top-shelf corporation. They've done a good job for us, and especially in light of the DOT offset for more than $500,000. We're getting some work done for very low price. I move 12G.
I just
I'll
want
second it.
to clarify something here. The work is $651,000 and change, but the state grant is going to pay $564,000 and change. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's what it says, yes.
that's what it says.
Okay. So the net obligation to the town is about, I guess, under $100,000,
Yes.
right to say?
Roughly.
Okay, thank you. I think that's worth emphasizing and explaining because the public should be entitled to know this is a good deal for the town. And just by reading the heading, they may not get that impression. I think it's worth emphasizing that this is a great deal.
Roll call?
Councilman Cordilla,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes.
All right. 12H, authorizing a release of performance guarantee in the amount of $51,548 and acceptance of the site improvements for MAVs, Block 907, Lot 3435 at 1979 Washington Valley Road, Bridgewater, New Jersey.
The memo from Mr. Genova does outline that this project is complete. They have completed it pursuant to the Board of Adjustment approval, and the recommendation is to release this performance guarantee.
Anyone have any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve 12H.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Cordilla,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes.
12I, waiver of fire permit in the amount of $60 for Pioneer Family Success Center in connection with a family campfire event to be held at the Bridgewater YMCA, 601 Garrettson Road, Bridgewater, on Thursday, September 11th, with a rain date of September 28th, 2023.
Just a clarification, September 11th is not a Thursday, so something's not in sync.
Okay? Why don't we do this? I'll let the administration take a minute to look at that, and, I'm sorry, September 21st. Okay? So,
I'll make a motion to amend 12I to accurately reflect the date as Thursday, September 21st, 2023.
If I may, Howard, if you please go first.
By the way, I would support this, but campfires are specifically not prohibited in our township ordinances. So I'm not even sure, I mean, it's specifically spelled out that campfires are not prohibited. You know, I'll support this, but I'm not sure that we even need to have a wait. If the fire inspector wants to go out there and inspect it, that's fine, but if we look back in the township ordinance, we'll find campfires are not prohibited and therefore permitted, therefore I'm not sure they need a permit for it.
If I may, while I support the waiving of the fee for the YMCA, I want to express a concern with the weather that we've had and the heat that we've had to have a campfire. My question is, in looking at this, does our fire official have the right to go and say, you know, just based on weather and the dryness of grass and everything, having a campfire, would that be a hazard to the area?
So in our packet, to address some of these comments in total, they have a permit from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Forest Fire Service for a recreational fire permit. The state has already blessed this, but there are certain requirements on here regarding clean wood, no debris, no petroleum to ignite, and it also provides a website that they have to check for current restrictions prior to lighting the fire.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't allow a campfire and we wind up burning down half the town.
Correct. And I'm assuming that's why they have to check the website the day of.
I would ask that our fire official be involved in checking that also.
Okay?
You know, having said that, I'm not saying I don't support it, but I know that at times, a campfire can get out of hand and cause a horrendous problem.
It's also limited to 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot.
No to the concern. Move 12I.
I've made the motion for the amended 12I with the corrected date.
So just to clarify, Councilman Kirsch, your motion is to modify 12A and move it?
Modify and move, modification being it's Thursday, September 21st, 2023.
Councilman Norgalis, are you seconding that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
I'm going to apologize in advance, no disrespect, but I'm going to try my best at pronunciation here. 12J is a renewal of plenary retail distribution liquor license 1806-44-045-001 for Bhagath Singh Ketharaju of Bridgewater Wines LLC, trade name Liquor Cave, 674 U.S. Highway 202-206, Bridgewater, New Jersey, with special ruling pursuant to NJSA 31:1-12.18 for the 2023-2024 licensing term. Mr. Pat, who?
Well, this resolution is to award the license that was just auctioned off this year, and to get the licensing, to get an approval for their licensing term.
Okay. And just so the public is aware, the 674 is an office. That is not an area that would support a liquor store without land use review.
And Councilman Ring, just for clarification, if I'm not mistaken, this is the license that is authorized now that we are over the 45,000
Yes.
population mark. So now that we are at or approaching 46,000, that gets us this additional license and the incremental revenue associated with it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Someone like to move 12?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll move, I'll move 12J.
Okay. I'll second it. Roll call.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes.
All right, if there's no objections, I'm going to take 12K and 12L together. I'll read both of them and then ask Mr. Pappas to speak. 12K, resolution terminating all participation under the State Health Benefits Program, SHBP, including prescription drug plan and/or dental plan coverage. 12L is authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Horizon Blue Cross of New Jersey to provide medical insurance to the Township of Bridgewater for a total annual premium of $6,528,000 for December 2023 and the year 2024.
Thank you. As the council knows, we shifted to the State Health Benefits Plan a year ago, May, and primarily because the costs for the private plan that we had were increasing significantly. There were issues that had to be addressed with regard to some costs that were escalating, that shifting to the State Health Benefits Plan and the parameters that are part of that program would assist us in in minimizing costs while ensuring that our employees and our retirees had very good coverage. We have been successful over the past year, and the shift has seen the cost controls successful, the efforts to control costs successful without impacting adversely the health care provided. And Round Hill Risk Managers has been very aggressive in seeking options for the township, and the council has been apprised over the course of the last few months as we've seen the claims reports, the not specific details of individuals' claims, but the overall costs as compared to the premiums paid. And we're very pleased to be able to recommend to the governing body a shift basically back to the Horizon private plan that we had been in, and seeing a significant decrease from the substantial increase that we would have faced if we remained as part of the state health benefits plan. Mr. Redlinger is here and supposedly could respond to any questions that you may have, but I think that summarizes the costs of this as compared to what we would have faced. And the coverage is the same or better. I think that's not a technical term, but the coverage is certainly meeting what we've had, if not improved from that.
I thought we were staying with the same prescription.
We are, yes.
It says
I know.
terminating, including.
Yes.
Wouldn't it say excluding?
Well, we had this discussion, and it seems that the Resolution 12K references or is the template that the state health benefits program requires to be adopted to withdraw. We do not receive prescription drug, vision, or dental through the state health benefits plan. Those are separate entities. We did debate that and looked at it and felt that it does not have any impact on the contracts that we have for prescription drugs, for vision, or for dental. They are separate. They've been acted on separately by the governing body, but that simply seems to be the required language in the...
That is confusing.
It is,
And
it
I think
is.
will be confusing to our constituents.
It is.
unless we
And that...
modify that title to say something different.
Well, and I did send an email to the staff yesterday that I touched on that, and certainly we are going to ensure that the retirees are notified that as well.
I think the issue is the state gives us a template, and
The
if
state requires this template.
we don't reuse their template, then they don't accept our notice.
Yeah, I just want to say that great job, Mr. Pappas and your team, for doing the research and bringing this forward to us. The way I see it, I was just handed this piece of paper now, but it looks like the renewal for the New Jersey State Health Benefit Plan for next year would have been $7,025,400. And the rate that we're getting through Horizon Private Insurance at the 6.5 million, the way I did my math, I think it's right. It's about an 8% savings to the Bridgewater taxpayer with a policy that's going to meet or exceed our current benefits. And also what's important is that the service provided should also be increased. The customer service provided by the insurance company, we should see an increase in that. So this is really is a win-win. So I'm pleased with your outcome.
Well, Mr. Redlinger and his staff have been amazing. We've spent a considerable amount of time communicating about this, and he has been very aggressive in seeking options for us, and I want to thank him for his efforts.
Just a brief comment here. I want to make sure that we particularly highlight in 12L, the fourth whereas clause, there will be real dollar savings, not only next year, which is going to be critically important to the budget process once that starts to unfold, but an estimated $41,450 for the month of December. We're talking about a 13-month period, so there is that $41,450 estimated savings this year. Going back to our budget, I know it was tight, continues to be tight. correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Pappas, salaries is the largest expense we have, benefits is number 2. So certainly every little bit that we can shave off while still providing comprehensive coverage is highly desired, and certainly very good news as we're now roughly 3/4 of the way through the year, that now we, as a result of this action, will have an extra $41,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
If anyone else have anything?
I have a question. It may seem silly, but after everything we've gone through in the past year or so regarding medical benefits, the simple question that I have is, we're going to go from the state plan where we all understand the level of coverages that we have. Now we're going to go to the Blue Cross Horizon plan, certainly with the benefit of a lower premium. Am I to understand that the coverages and everything that we have in place right now in moving forward does not change?
Equal to or better.
I've heard equal to or better many times before, and that's a catch-all, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but
Flat out, in moving forward, do we have what we currently, are we going to have what we currently have?
Motion to Mr. Redlinger to respond. Thank you.
Yeah, Scott, Mr. Redlinger, you'll respond to this?
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. You know, the equal to or better than coverage is a terminology that is important in government employee benefits. Horizon Blue Cross will actually provide us a letter that states that this product is equal to or better than, as would Aetna, as would the HIF, as were the other products we're applying. But because we're staying with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're dealing with exactly the same network, the same benefit levels. You know, there's a higher level of customer service, whereas the state health benefits plan becomes, you know, the market of last resort where prices are fixed. You know, that is any member would receive the same prices. We've performed better than that pool, and Horizon themselves has taken us into that same network, the same level of benefits. You know, I would caveat that with saying that, you know, individual prescriptions and individual doctors that are in our network change with every employee benefit or healthcare provider, but this is an exact match of what the state health benefits plan will be providing, and run alongside with the same carrier. More customer service, as you mentioned. You get dedicated claims reps, you get dedicated people when you're in a private company where they're competing for your business, whereas they're not in the state health benefits plan. So this is exactly the same, whereas, you know, if we had recommended a move to Aetna or to a health insurance fund, we would be the benefit levels equal, substantially similar or equal to better than coverage. This is actually the same coverage.
Hey, that's a simple answer to a simple question. Thank you.
Before you, Councilman Ring, can I just ask a follow-up question? Is the reason why, the underlying reason why we are getting a better rate because of the positive changes in behavior, of our claims behavior during the time, which now makes us more attractive, and that's what drives this lower premium?
Yes. The claims experience for the Township of Bridgewater has improved substantially. You know, some of that may be due differences coming from a pandemic to you know, more normalized environment. But I think that a big part of that is just information, going out there telling people about how to use their plan better. And I know that you guys thanked me, but I think that your Human Resources Department had a lot of work and deserves a lot of benefit here, coming in and out of plans, and it was a success. So, you know, thank you for giving me credit, but, you know, Administrator Pappas and the HR department really did the heavy lift.
Before you, anyone else? Just in the interest for our constituents, as I understand, and I would like to just publicly clarify two things. So from a township employee point of view, they're going to enroll in the new program in December. That enrollment will be for December and 2024. They don't have to enroll for the month of December and then enroll again for 2024?
You know, there's going to be one enrollment, it's going to be done electronically.
One enrollment, yep.
You're going to be
And,
electronically.
and then also for those employees that might have had a deductible situation that they've met already in 2023, there's a provision for that deductible under the private plan?
There is, you know, the deductible spent year to date would be honored, you know,
So if you already met your deductible with state health benefits and you're a township employee, don't feel like you have to meet your deductible again in December. They will honor your deductible you already met.
No, absolutely not. You may need to, at some point, print out your latest explanation
Okay.
of benefits or.
Absolutely not. You don't need to worry about it. Not absolutely not. I'm wrong.
No, you do not need to worry about it. There may be some paperwork involved. You know, employee benefits companies make errors that they need to be clarified. You know, somebody might need to make a telephone call or have a small pain, but the deductible will be honored.
Okay, thank you.
I will move 12K and L.
We have a motion on the consent for 12K and L.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Roll call.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Pedroso?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
President Crush?
Yes.
All right. We do have a closed session tonight. Do we anticipate having to take any action? Okay, so. We don't. Okay, even better. I'm sorry? Okay. With that, we have concluded our meeting this evening, and I'll look to Councilman Norgalis. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That concludes our meeting. Thank you.